Back in January, Final Fantasy XIV was dealing with a pretty big dilemma focused on a player stalking plugin called PlayerScope. The news around this went pretty widespread, with even a few publications and pretty much every YouTuber that covers Final Fantasy XIV talking about it in some way. In the first live letter for patch 7.2, Square announced that they'd be doing a fix for this, and now that 7.2 is actually here, it's time to talk about it because it didn't work very well. If you're not already aware of the situation surrounding this plugin, I made probably the most detailed video on YouTube discussing it here, but I'll give you a brief recap just to catch you up. PlayerScope is essentially a plugin that enables players to track various things about your character, including location history and changes to your character status. Most concerningly, it grants players the ability to detect your alt accounts, which is huge because many players make alts for privacy reasons. It's often something that people will do to avoid stalking issues. As for the fix, it's not so great. The problem it tried to address is that when we got the new blacklist system back when dawntrail came out, the blacklist had a new feature where you could essentially block one character and it would block every other character attached to that account. That way a stalker couldn't make another character just to prey on you without you realizing it. This is really convenient, and for most people, it's the ideal way for blocking to work. After all, why would you want to deal with someone on a different character if you already don't like them on their first? It's still the same person. However, the downside is pretty obvious when you think about it. If I blacklist one person and suddenly another character stops showing up on my screen, I can tell right there that it's probably the same account. The unfortunate part is that this detection happens on the client, which means that the data telling your game which account to hide is visible to anyone that uses any kind of third-party tooling to read data from the game. So pretty much any plugins or parsing tool can get this information and no guessing is involved. What Square decided to do is they essentially scrambled the data that was being sent to the client. The purpose of this was to make it harder to access. In the software engineering world, this scrambling is known as obfuscation. It's something that you do when you have to send data in a public way but want to make it harder to actually understand what it is for anything that's not supposed to be seeing it. According to some of the most prolific modders in the scene, whatever method they used was very weak and easy to undo. While they didn't share how to do it for obvious reasons, the point is clear. Whoever makes PlayerScope and the many potential clones of it that we probably don't know about can easily bypass the attempted fix in patch 7.2. To put it simply, you should assume that all of your alt accounts are still at risk, and honestly, I don't know if I can see this changing. I'm guessing that Square really values the privacy afforded by being able to block an entire account. Unfortunately, for them that's probably the smart decision. In a game that heavily incentivizes using one character to do everything, the people that need to make an alt account for privacy reasons are likely a small minority in the overall player base. If Square can't figure out a way to do server-side detection, or at least one that isn't too costly considering how much they struggle with pretty much every server change, fixing this could mean reverting the blacklist function entirely, and I don't know if they'd be truly willing to do that. One byproduct of this attempted fix is that they kind of screwed over the blacklist that existed currently. If you haven't checked your blacklist recently, it seems that anybody that you added in dawntrail is no longer visible to you and your notes are gone too. I originally thought that this side effect would impact the entire blacklist based on the patch notes, so I'm glad that it was only recent entries, but it still kind of sucks. In any case, I hope that this video helps you to understand what's going on and to make smarter decisions around when and how you use alt accounts. If you want to support me, consider joining as a member on YouTube, and if you have any questions, I'm always around in my Discord. Anyway, I'll see you in the next video.